You need to remain focused in a world full of distractions. Here's why. In this world that we live in, there's always something that is trending or something that needs to be heard or be seen, especially when it comes to social media. In a time that we live in today, we have to find a way to remain focused. The things that distract you are the very things that are going to keep you or the things that distract you are going to be the things that keep you recycling your same old experiences, are going to keep you the same. The things that are going to keep you right where you are the very things that are going to hold you back. You have to become very mindful with where your time is going and where your time is being spent. For the mere fact is that where anytime that you try to focus on something, there is always going to be something to throw off your focus. More so, anytime you begin something, you're always going to be surrounded by some form of distractions, whether it's maybe your phone going off, maybe it's certain things being said. There's always going to be something that is going to try to distract you from you better tr- trying to better oneself, trying to better who you are, and whether that's mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, even financially. And the thing I learned is that the more you become focused and you try to become focused, the more your distractions are going to appear to be much stronger to remain focused with. Let me give you an example. For example, anytime I am working on what it is I'm working on, such as my personal brand, for example, there are always going to be distractions where, you know, people will reach out to me and say, hey, have you heard about this new trend? No, I haven't. Why? Because anything outside of what it is I'm working on does not deserve my attention. The thing that deserves my attention is the thing that I'm working on and the very thing that I need to learn to improve what it is I'm working on to help me reach where it is I'm trying to go. That is where my focus is. My focus is on my craft. The thing that I live and breathe is literally this craft, this piece of art that I'm trying to work. I'm trying to master. I'm trying to make visible. I'm trying to make something out of nothing. That is what I live and breathe. I'm always thinking of ways, okay, what is it that I need to do? Okay, what is it that needs improving? How can I do this? How can I do that? If I do this, would I be able to do that? I cannot explain how my mind works, but I'm constantly living and breathing. How can I improve this situation? Or how can I better XYZ? That is where my mind is at. Back to what I was saying is while you are trying to better oneself, or you're trying to better something, you're trying to improve something, there are always going to be many distractions. Especially in today's generation, in today's world, you're constantly surrounded by a lot of things that are on social media, such as maybe TikTok trends, or lately it's been a lot of political drama. Right now, it's going to be sports related. And I have nothing against any of those things. I have nothing against those companies. I have nothing against those people. I have nothing against those events. I have nothing against any of those things. It's just for me personally, I am just very focused and very mindful with where my time and attention is going. Did I hear about the new TikTok trend? I did not. I don't. I personally don't care to know. Did I hear about what's currently going on in our political situation? No, I did not. Am I personally one to if I know about what is being said politically, is it going to change the situation? Quite frankly, 9 out of 10 times it's not. Sure, yes, may when I learn certain things, or hear certain things and know certain things, if you're not one to make movements, if you're not one who is in the position to create change, then quite frankly, you're just part of the noise. And that's, for me personally, that's just not who I am. If there's nothing I can do about it, then simply it's completely out of my control, and just let it take its course. Some events, sports related is going to be happening now. I'm not personally a fan of sports. A big reason to that is my dad was never in the picture. So because my dad was never in the picture, I never really had a man figure or a father figure around me growing up. to say, hey, game day Sunday. I never had that. So because I never had that growing up, and because I never had that growing up, I never really got into sports. And I'm not saying sports is a man thing. It's my mom was never a fan of sports, or it's not so much she wasn't a fan. She just never really got into it, like some people do. A lot of people do. And again, I have nothing against any of those. Back to politics, really quick. I wanted to touch on is when it comes to I wanted to highlight. I wanted to touch on this topic because there are a lot of stuff too that does deserve awareness and does deserve attention. For example, the ongoing conflicts that are going on around the world. It is something that does need to. It is something that you should and need to be aware of. Again, with these ongoing conflicts going on, I want to touch on that because when I was talking about politics, back to what I was saying, is if 9 out of 10 times, if you are not one to create change or not one who is able to create change, then quite frankly, you are just part of the noise, which is spreading more hate and to be very candid, we have enough of that going on as it is. We need more unity, not more division. There's to put it simply, we are stronger together, not divided. And I want to touch on that because anything that really, really does deserve my attention, anything that really, really does not only deserve my attention, but is something that I need to know, I will become aware of. I will know about it. Either I will come across it quickly scrolling on social media. Usually when I go on social media, I post and I log off and I move on with my day. That is currently how I manage my social media now. And but if there is something that I do need to know, I will come across it. I will know about it, and then depending on the severity of the situation, then of course I will look more into it, get more context out of it, and get my own understanding and personal opinion, and get my own interpretation and my own personal opinion with what it is that is going on. Something I want to mention too is, especially with the holidays coming up, a wise man had once told me, and it's something that I hold very, very close, is he says, there are two things that should never be discussed at the dinner table. He said that is one, politics, and two, religion. And what they meant by that is when he mentioned the dinner table, it's not literally being at the dinner table, but it's anywhere you are. If there's a close relationship or a relationship that you value most, two things that should never really get discussed is religion and politics. For the mere fact is everyone has their own opinions, which is great. Everybody has their own perspectives, which is too great. But sometimes we can have a very great relationship going on. I personally have seen it. You can have great relationships going on. That individual is a great person. But as soon as you talk about an alternative perspective or why you believe in XYZ with your religion or political party or your politics, whatever you want to call it, you now have a different outlook on that person. And because of what it may be preached about, if you agree with the left side or you agree with the right side, regardless of what you preach, this is who that individual is. And I want to say that from me to you, that is not entirely the case. There's always more than what meets the eye. And two, there is always you should never let something with I don't want to get off topic here. But back to what I was saying is, with the holidays coming up, please do not let politics be the reason why either one, you guys don't get together, or two, you guys don't talk, or three, you guys no longer keep in contact. especially if that relationship means something to you. To put it simply, any relationship, not just any relationship you have, if you have ongoing conflict with them or even tension, ask yourself this one question. If something were to happen to them tomorrow, if you happen to get a phone call tonight, hey, so and so passed. Hey, so and so got in a severe accident. We don't know how things are going. They're in the ICU. They're in critical. Would you make the time to go see them in the hospital? Would you make the time to check on them if you had the opportunity? Or even worse, would you make the time to attend their funeral? And if the answer is yes, then take this as your sign to rekindle that relationship and see what happens. If you guys rekindle it, great. And even if it goes nowhere, at least you know you tried. This is a story of how I healed my hand from feeling numb after a medical procedure didn't go as planned. When I had this medical procedure, is for those of you who do not know, I have SMA type 2, which is a progressive disability that slowly takes away your ability to walk, eat, and breathe over time. Because I have this disability, I take treatments that is not a cure, but it is a form of treatment to help stabilize my progression of my disability from worsening as fast, from atrophying so fast. And this medical treatment is called Spinraza. And when I take these Spinraza injections, they are medication that is administered in your spinal cord through a lumbar puncture. So for me, having SMA on top of having severe sclerosis, the area that they have to do the injection site isn't any ordinary area. For an ordinary person who doesn't have severe sclerosis such as mine, they would just do a spinal injection at the lower part of their back, doing a lumbar puncture. For me, because I have severe sclerosis, they have to go at an area of my, I don't want to be too detailed, but they have to go from my buttocks and angling upwards into that spinal cord area, reaching to the lower part of my back to administer the medication. While I have these injections, I do get put under anesthetic. So I do get put under anesthesia. I am asleep during the procedure. The procedure is roughly around 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how the day is kind of going, with them trying to find the spot so they can administer the medication. Again, especially in my case, because of my severe sclerosis, it's a little bit more complex. While I had this medical procedure is again how I get put under anesthetic. How I get put under anesthetic is I do again be put to sleep. So while I am asleep, I have to turn to my right side, and when I am laying on my right side, what happened here is I ended up laying on my arm wrong, and I say it is my fault for the mere fact is while they turned me and positioned me, the medical team is I always have a great team of people, and the medical team is always reassuring me and asking me, hey, are you okay? Are you comfortable before we put you to sleep? Before we move forward, like, are you comfortable? Before, again, we put you to sleep, before we sedate you. And me being me, while I was comfortable, but I felt while I was laying on my right side, I felt like I was laying on my arm wrong. And me being me, I was just telling myself, everything's going to be okay. You're overthinking this situation, like you're okay. And the reason why I had this talk with myself is because usually, not all the time, it's getting a little bit easier now, but a lot of the times when I have these injections, I do become, I don't want to use the word paranoid, but I am somewhat paranoid a little bit. Like, I'm always asking questions. Hey, am I going to be put to sleep? Hey, I always try to reassure that I am going to be put to sleep during these procedures. And the reason being is because a quick backstory is when I was at the age of 11 years old in 2010, I had a back surgery that didn't go too well. And because of this back surgery, it caused me to have dozens, and I mean dozens, of back surgeries because I had caught a very bad, severe infection, which then caused me to not only have this infection, but to be in and out of the OR just with my back alone. So, just with my back alone, I have had dozens, and I mean dozens, of surgeries, not trying to be dramatic, but really the last number I can remember is like around 38 by me going in and out of the OR. At that time, I was in the hospital for 2.5 months. So, as you can imagine, just within that life experience, especially at being such a young age, you're being such a young age and going through such experience is not the easiest, and it's not definitely the easiest to endure through and the easiest to kind of overcome, especially when it comes to things happening again when it comes to your back, such as my injections. When I get my injections, it's in my back area, so I always try to say, hey, am I going to be put to sleep? Just because of that experience alone, as you can imagine, it left quite the mark, right? And I want to highlight too, it's nothing on the medical professional's fault. It's no doctors, nurse, any medical teams, professionals' fault with what happened with my back surgeries or with what goes on with my Spinraza injections. And the reason why I say that is simply because, again, my case is not the easiest. It's quite complex, with especially when it comes to my SMA. I mean, with my severe scoliosis. Excuse me. The reason why I had mentioned this is because every time I go into an injection, I'm always asking again my anesthesiologist more so, am I going to be put to sleep? Am I going to be sedated? And I always ask questions, like I ask him several times. So the reason when I was laying on my side and I was comfortable, but I wasn't as comfortable, I just told myself, Vic, you're being paranoid. You're overthinking the situation. You're okay. So while I was laying on my side, I did feel myself laying on my arm wrong, but I didn't quite think to the extent my arm is going to go to sleep, and when I wake up, it's going to have a negative effect. I didn't think that. So again, I lay onto the bed. They transfer me from the gurney to the table that they are going to do the injection on, and they roll me over. They turn me, position me, get everything prepped so they can move on with the procedure. And as right before they sedate me, they ask me if I'm comfortable. Am I doing okay? How do I feel? And I reassure them I'm okay. Like I'm fine. I'm great. All right. I'm comfortable. They ended up sedating me. When I woke up, my right hand was completely numb. So when I say I had no feeling whatsoever, I literally had no feeling. This right here, I could not feel whatsoever. I couldn't feel this. I couldn't feel the pinch. I couldn't feel anything. Me being my optimistic self, I woke up and I didn't think too much of it. I just remember I couldn't feel this, and me thinking to myself, you laid on your arm wrong. It's temporary. Give it a few seconds. Give it a few minutes. A few minutes ended up going by, so I had no feeling. Minutes turned into hours. Hours. I remember after the procedure, again, me being optimistic, I'm like, your arm is just really asleep. Just give it some time. It's going to be okay. After the procedure, me and my mom at the time, it was just us two. We ended up going out to have a dinner. And while we went out to dinner, I didn't know that when you do not have feeling in your hand, you also lose your grip. You lose your strength. And as we went to dinner and I went to pick up my utensil, pick up my fork, it completely just slipped out of my hand. And as you can imagine, that was quite the experience within itself, where being able to do something one day and then the next, like literally the next second or even the next day, not being able to do so can really affect one personally. Once I dropped my fork, it was a huge negative experience. And then that's when I began to question, is this it? Like is this permanent? Once I woke up from the procedure, minutes turned into hours, hours turned into days, days turned into weeks. So as throughout that time frame, there's a lot more to this story, but for the context of this video, we were just talking about my hand here. So during that time frame, what did I begin doing? So for the first few days, I was feeling, I was in a world of despair. I had no hope. I had no feeling. Me trying to brush my teeth, pick up my phone, operate my computer, trying to feed myself became a very, very big challenge. Me trying to figure out how can I adapt to picking up my utensils just so I can feed myself. How can I how can I utilize the TV remote? Because again, when you do not have feeling, you lose your sense of grip. And let alone, because I have SMA, I'm not the strongest person physically, you know? A lot of stuff was my world. I was falling into this world called despair because I was able to do one thing yesterday, having to wake up and not being able to do it the next. Again, can affect you mentally quite significantly. What I began doing, the first 2 days was very difficult, challenging, and I tried my absolute best to stay optimistic, and I tried my absolute best to try to adapt to this new lifestyle that I was living. What I ended up doing is I ended up doing what I always have done. Anything that I don't know and I am interested in, I do research. I do my diligence. I began going on Google and I began going on YouTube, more so YouTube, looking up ways on how I remember it was along the lines of how to heal, how to make your hand go unnumb, or how to heal your hand from being numb. It was along those lines. And to start typing in word for word, and as you start to do research, then you start to pick up new ideas, new ways on how you can further your research. And I ended up coming across this one video. I cannot remember exactly what it was called. I can't even find it now, even if I tried. But I came across this video where it was like talking about healing your hand is you cannot feel it, but just do this. And your mind knows that it's there. It's just like your connection is lost. So I somehow was able to get through to myself. I was one able to interpret the understanding of the video, and I was able to get my own interpretation. Like your connection is there. Like your mind is able to say your hand is here. You're able to move it, right? But the the outlet was there, but the connection wasn't. That's what I mean to say here. So the outlet was there, meaning I was able to do this. My mind was able to register there was something there. But the connection to feel this was missing. And I somehow convinced myself that if your mind can connect to that outlet, connect back to that source that can make your mind register, hey, this is here. Hey, this is what it feels like. Hey, this is how to move. This is what you can do. Then I knew I would be okay. Through many, many hours, through many, many days, literally from the moment I woke up to the moment I went back to bed, I was doing this all day. If I was on my chair, I would be on my lap and I would just be moving my fingers around. Every finger, every part of my hand that felt numb, I would move it. And I would just move it. And sure enough, after several weeks, I was able to regain my feeling. And what I hope you can gain from this video, if you were trying to heal your hand, I'm no medical professional, I'm no expert or advisor to give you medical advice. Quick disclaimer, I'm no medical professional. Anything that you are going through, please seek help from a medical professional if you have any professional questions that needs to be answered and it maybe even addressed. I just wanted to mention that really quickly. But for me, the value I hope you can gain from this is if your hand is numb, maybe it works on other parts of your body as well, such as your feet, for example. I don't know. But for me, the value I hope you can take away from this is sometimes in life when you are going through a transition, a new change, something in your world just happens to drastically change the course of your direction. Don't lose faith. Because I had that little ounce of faith that everything will be okay. While I was in the middle of doing this, It was very, very hard to trust, yet let alone believe that everything would be okay. Because having the knowledge and the life experience of being able to do something one day to the next not being able to do so can really affect you mentally. And seeing the progression of your disability, more so especially your disability, and you're seeing things slowly being taken away from you, and that one thing that you utilize most feels like it is slipping away from you, don't lose faith. Don't give up. Because I can assure you that if you can do your 100% best and you put in your 100% effort and you find ways to adapt to your situation, you find ways to improve your situation, even if you have the opportunity to fix your situation, I can assure you that if you endure through that process and you keep the faith that everything will be okay, there are better days that lie ahead. But the only way for you to reassure that tomorrow will be better is you must put in the effort, taking the necessary steps, moving you forward today. The one thing I learned very early on in my life is life is constantly changing. And the thing I learned is that if you do not change with it, you are going to get left behind. The thing I learned very early on in my life is despite how challenging, despite how hard this mountain may appear to be, despite how difficult it is to continue to climb this mountain, where it's even becoming tiring at times, because it feels and seems like you're making no progress. Is life is always changing. Having that in mind, your season will change. If it feels like your world currently has been like you've been going through 4 seasons of winter, it is going to change. And I hope that having that in mind, my hope for you is that you find the strength to endure what is in front of you. You continue to endure, you continue to persevere, you continue to hold on to the faith to help you move forward, and help you go from point A to point B. And you find the ability to adapt to your situations. Because again, our world is constantly changing. And if you do not change with it, you are going to get left behind. So the thing you have to develop and begin to practice is how can you adapt to these constant changes? The one thing in life is everything is temporary. This season you are going through, the pain you are feeling, the hopelessness you feel, the hopelessness that you are in, the mountain that you feel you cannot climb anymore. Everything is temporary. To feel like you're climbing, metaphorically speaking, to feel like you're climbing this mountain and you're in this storm that's becoming harder and harder to climb. It's becoming harder and harder to endure. Those are the life experiences that shape you the most. That one, help you discover something you didn't know about you. And two, It helps you discover a new strength, a new ability that you didn't know you had within you before. And I learned that that is what those mountains are about. That is what those life experiences, those challenges, those trial and tribulations are for. It is not there to break you. It is there to help you discover something that ultimately creates you. Anything you are going through, pause and stop and ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? That one question right there holds the power to help you see a new perspective you didn't see before. Me currently, at the time of this recording, me making this recording, it's currently August 26th, 2024. And I'm making this video in advance because during these upcoming months, it's going to get quite busy. So I'm trying to upload content as much as possible, trying to keep my upload schedule consistent. Back to what I was saying is back to my disability. Is my disability at the time of this recording is not doing the greatest. It might change later, might even change positively by the time this video uploads. But at the time of this recording, it is not the easiest. And as I'm trying to climb this mountain, and as I'm trying to weather through the storm, it's not the easiest, as you can imagine. I'm trying to adapt to the situation. I'm trying to stay positive in the situation. I'm trying to keep that spark within me that helps me endure and persevere the current season that I am in. The thing that helps me a lot is adapting to the situation, trying to move forward, finding something that helps me look forward to a brighter future, which is for me a personal brand. Having this YouTube channel, creating content for you, sharing what I know, things I have learned, sharing those tools with you. It brings me a sense of purpose. It ignites this God-driven passion to help you. And because I want to help you, and because I aim to provide the most value for you, it helps me too. Because I have this philosophy of myself where if I am able to help me, I can only imagine how many other people I can help. That within itself helps me adapt to my situations and helps me endure through the storms. It helps me persevere through the challenges that constantly are in front of me, both personally and professionally. And spiritually speaking, it draws me closer to my faith. It draws me closer to God, to seek guidance, light, love, warmth, comfort, solace, serenity, peace, empathy, compassion, patience. And because it brings me all of these things, I learned that I cannot hate the path, but choose to love it. The number one thing that you can do to help you overcome anything you are going through, if you're in a depressional state, if you're going through anxiety, if you're going through severe anxiety, if you're going through mental pain, anything that you are going through, you have to have a goal. in order to climb out of that very thing that you seem you cannot crawl out of. You need to have a goal to help you aim towards. If you are in a depressional state, okay, you're in a depressional state. It's understandable. I've been there. I've been in a very dark mental state. In fact, where it led me to being on a psychiatric hold. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. I understand some of those thought processes. I understand the process as to what it takes to help you overcome those negative thoughts, to help you overcome that negative experience. When I say understand, I understand. So how does one overcome that depressional state? How does one go from point A to point B? How does someone put one foot in front of the other? You need a goal. You need something to help you. You need something to motivate you to want to move forward. You need something to ignite that inner fire to help you want to wake up to one more day. To ignite that hope, you need something to hold on to. Again, to help you move forward. For me, it was creating a YouTube channel. There was something that happened within that experience, within those experiences, where a good friend of mine had inspired me to build a website spreading 5150 awareness, which, for those of you who do not know, it's a California code saying you're endangered to yourself or even others. A good friend of mine had reached out to me because I have past experience of web design, and he had told me, why don't you turn this negative experience into a positive? And I said, what do you mean? And he says, well, you know how to build a website. Why don't you build a website and spread 5150 awareness? During that conversation, we were on the phone for about roughly an hour, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but it was roughly an hour. And during that conversation, the one thing that I took away is, how can I turn this negative experience into a positive? Which is what they said. But I sat down and I thought about it all night. I thought about it after that conversation, and I thought about it all night. And during that night, I told myself, think bigger. And as time went on and I started going through different ideas, then I came across this idea to create my own personal brand, Victortheinspiration. Build a website talking about my story, things I have gone through, things I have learned to help me get through everything I have gone through, to help others overcome what they too are going through. Started thinking bigger in that sense. Created my website, started documenting my process, started talking about things I have gone through, started talking about things I have learned, and I even share a lot of stuff that has not only helped me within the process, but I share philosophies of mine that has helped me shift my mindset from going from a mindset of complete despair to having a sense of hope. And the thing that helped me is I started building my website. I created a YouTube channel, creating content revolving primarily around personal development and mental health content. And the reason why that helped me go from point A to point B is because I needed something that was much bigger than myself. I needed something to chase, or I needed something to do that, again, was much bigger than just me. Me creating a website, anybody can share a website, anybody can talk about their story. And yeah, some of it may help some people depending on the course of direction they decide to take their website, right? But for me, I wanted something a little bit bigger. I wanted to create a website where I not only talk about my story, but I share things I have learned in hopes that somebody will come across it and be able to resonate with my story, or maybe in a similar story, or may feel like they have it bad and they come across my story and they realize that things could be much worse. Or they could read my story and have a life way worse than I do. But there could be something that I may have said, maybe a sentence, maybe even a word, maybe a philosophy that I had quoted that paused that individual's mindset, put a halt onto everything they are going through. And they just stop to think, wow, I never looked at life from this perspective. Wow, that philosophy, that one quote, it was exactly what I needed. Wow. What this person just said, or what I am just reading, was meant just for me. Now imagine the effects, the ripple effect, the magnitude of a difference an individual can make just because you not only shared your story, but you shared what you have learned. And you're able to develop the courage to dive deep into certain topics that not just anyone is willing to talk about, and are able to share those life experiences. You're able to share those things you have learned. That is how you make a difference. I needed, again, something that was much bigger than me to help me overcome what I was going through. Again, I was in a very depressional state. I was the one who appeared to always be happy, positive, optimistic, always seemed to have his life figured out. On social media, the one who's posting the smiles, the joys, the laughs, spreading the love. That guy was going through a battle that no one knew about. And it got so bad, it led him being on a psychiatric hold. Imagine that. That was me. So there are two takeaways I would really like you to take away from this video. Is one, do not compare your lives to those who post smiles, joys, laughter on social media. Do not compare your lives to someone else's on social media, because behind the screen, when that camera goes off, they too are going through something that they do not speak about. So instead of feeling envious, maybe because of the lifestyle they appear to have, find motivation or inspiration that can help you, that can benefit you in a positive way. That can help you get to a better tomorrow. That can help you not only help yourself, but creates you the desire to help someone else. Again, in a selfless way. And two, you need something to help you get from point A to point B. What that is for you, I don't know. I cannot say this is what you have to do. I can only share what has helped me. And for me, it was creating a website. It was creating a YouTube channel. Excuse me. What can you do to not only help yourself, but what is it that you love? Or what is it that ignites that fire within you? that can one day, after you endure everything you go through, after you reach that destination or that milestone that you so heartedly desire, right once you get there, what is something that can keep you going? That brings you this endless supply of this passion-driven purpose to help you continue this course of direction of helping others, being of service to others. The one thing I learned very early on in my life is we are not here for ourselves. We are here for others. So those selfish acts that we do, those selfish intentions that we have, it's one, making our lives harder, and two, it's definitely going to make our lives a lot harder for the next life. You need to become selfless. How can I help other people? Everywhere I go, I'm always looking around. I'm always observant, and I'm always looking, how can I help you? How can I assist you? If I see you're alone, I'll acknowledge you. Hey, how's it going? If you're a worker and you're just going on with your day, hey, how's it going? I will acknowledge you. What's your name? Oh, I'm Susan. Hi, I'm Victor. Nice to meet you. That one simple act of kindness or that one simple act of acknowledgement can to you, just you simply being nice, or you simply just being nice. But to them, it could be that one thing that makes them want to hold on to one more day. Because again, everybody is going through something. And don't just take my word for it. How many times have you posted something or even gone outdoors and you smiled, you appeared to be happy, you appeared to have your life together, you have everything figured out, your life is all sunshine and rainbows to everybody around you? But how many times, once that camera goes off or once those doors are closed, you're not happy? I learned very early on in my life that the more we can understand our path and the more that we can endure the things that we must, we not only create the opportunity to change ourselves, but we create the opportunity to become selfless, helping others. Now imagine the magnitude effect that you can have, just you, one individual can have, when you take care of you, you help someone else, and that person helps another. They smile at a stranger. Maybe life is treating them good financially, and they leave a generous tip. They acknowledge someone. They help someone. Maybe they have the opportunity or the time to look to someone and say, hey, how can I help you? Hey, how are you doing? And genuinely be interested in hearing what it is you have to say. That is how we create change. That is how we make a difference. Overcoming fear. The thing about a large majority of everyone on this earth is we all experience fear to some extent. Some more severe than others. But we all know what fear feels like. We all know that feeling. The thing I learned about fear is that very thing that you are scared of is that very thing that you may need to overcome. Let me give an example. Fear is a feeling, it's an emotion. Me having the disability that I have, as you can imagine, there's always some form of fear as to what the future holds. Because my disability is progressive, there's always that fear of what does the next 5 to 10 years look like? Am I going to be a vegetable? Am I going to be able to feed myself? Am I going to be able to talk? Because for those of you who do not know, is my disability takes away your ability to walk, eat, and breathe over time. My disability is SMA type 2. So the reason why I say it takes away, will it take away my ability to talk? Is because when you talk, what happens? You're utilizing, when you talk, you're moving your jaw, right? You're moving your mouth. This all is operated from a muscle. It takes some form of strength and effort. What does the next 5 to 10 years look like? Am I going to be able to talk? Am I going to be able to keep my head up? Because at the time of this recording, I've been struggling quite significantly with my neck support. Where 9 out of 10 times lately, I have been eating like this. I'll take a bite like this. I'll take a bite with my utensil. Take a bite. And then I get tired because just from going like this to put the effort to like eat from the utensil to then like picking up my head to chew and stuff, it takes a lot of effort. It's lately been very tiring where I have been chewing like this, resting my neck like this. So back to what I was saying is fear is an emotion. Again, back to, because fear is an emotion, there are only one of two things you can do about it. Is one, or three things. Is one, you can let that fear take hold of this moment. Having the remaining days, that if that happens, you take away all of your good days that you could have had spent focusing on something more positive, more uplifting, something that was more enjoyable. But because you focused to focus more on that fear, you missed out on all of these good days. Time that you would never get back. And not to mention that just because you have that emotion and just because you are afraid of that thing from happening doesn't necessarily mean that it will happen. And two, fear, it's an emotion. And the thing I learned about emotions is you must develop your emotional intelligence. Why am I afraid of this thing? Am I really afraid of this thing because of XYZ? By me being afraid of XYZ, what is it preventing from me actually achieving? Because I'm afraid of this very thing from happening. It gives you the opportunity to better develop your emotional intelligence. Get an understanding of your emotions a little bit more. And three is fear prevents us from doing a lot of things. And because it prevents us from doing a lot of things, what happens? We let that emotion take control of us, take hold of us, and it then causes anxiety, makes us anxious. Oh, I'm scared about the future. I'm scared of if this happens. And again, fear is an emotion. I know I said that several times now. And emotions are there to help us discover something about who we are. If you didn't have that emotion, you wouldn't have the opportunity to better have a more emotional intelligence than most. If it wasn't for that feeling of fear that you have, you wouldn't have maybe developed the empathy that it takes to empathize with others around you who are in similar situations. If it wasn't for that feeling of fear, you wouldn't have the opportunity to learn the feeling of it, the purpose of it, the meaning behind it, where it then creates the ability for you to help someone else who is feeling the same way. Back to my disability. There are a lot of uncertainties with my life because my disability is progressive. I'm very well aware of it. More aware than things that I talk about. But I cannot fear that just because this is possible, meaning I end up in a vegetable state, or I may not be able to talk, or I may not be able to eat, or eventually I may need a feeding tube, or whatever the circumstance may be. I can't let that fear stop me. Because as it is, one, I'm limited, I'm restricted by default, right? But if I let that fear hold me back more than the restrictions life already brings upon me, then I am allowing my disability to dictate who I am and who I become. By me not letting that feeling of fear dictate who I am, I do not let it dictate who I become. I decide that. And that's where your power lies. Your power lies in feeling the fear. Feel it. Understand the meaning behind it. Understand it. So you can say, okay, hey, this is the emotion. This is how I'm feeling. Okay, what do I got to do to get to the next step? How can I overcome this feeling? How can I get through this? And you slowly start to implement necessary changes, or you slowly start to adapt to your situation. And you begin to find these things that ultimately help you and lead you to where it is you need to go. And I find it, I use the word interesting. I find it interesting that isn't it interesting that while we are in the midst of going through these trials and tribulations, and we don't understand why certain things are happening to us, but somehow when we continue to move on with our day, we continue to put one foot in front of the other. Isn't it interesting how in the moment nothing seems to be getting better, or nothing seems to make sense? But when we look back, when we reflect back, everything is different. Somehow everything that happened, the good, the bad, and the ugly, ultimately led us to where it is we needed to go. That is the meaning of life. So, if you are someone who is feeling fear, or you are someone who is going through fear, maybe there's something you are going through, something you're experiencing, maybe there is a fear of outcome. In today's world, currently, there are a lot of uncertainties going around where it is very understandable why you may be feeling immense fear. But do not let that fear prevent you losing out on all of these good days that could have been spent enjoyed, not wasted. Developing a positive mindset is not the easiest. To give you a quick story about myself. As for those of you who do not know, my name is Victor, who goes by Victortheinspiration on social media, and I have a progressive disability known as spinal muscular atrophy type 2, which is a disability that takes away the ability to walk, eat, and breathe over time. Developing a positive mindset, having a progressive disability, is not the easiest. Being able to push myself in a manual wheelchair to then a decade later not being able to have the strength to do so anymore, where I have to be in a powerized wheelchair, as you can imagine, is not only a transition within itself, but can also affect one's optimism by trying to stay positive because you're not able to do what you were able to do yesterday. Again, it can affect you. It can affect you mentally, as you can imagine. Developing a positive mindset, again, is not the easiest. Throughout my entire course of my life, it's fortunately it's a bit of a bittersweet. And I say it's a bit of a bittersweet because the one thing my disability has taught me is it has, one, been my normalcy to have everything slowly slipping away from me. Meaning, the time that I am able to push myself in a wheelchair, the time I am able to pick my hands up, the times I am able to eat a burger, the time I am able to move my hands where I am able to hold a taco properly, or I'm able to pick up my drink, I'm able to pick up my phone, I'm able to do certain things. When you're able to do something one day and having the next not being able to do it, again, is not the easiest. So living a lifestyle where your normalcy is having everything slowly being taken away from you, not just so much internally, but externally as well. Because you're losing things you're losing things internally, which is your strength, your muscles. And then externally, you're losing loved ones around you as well. No matter where you look, no matter what you see, you're losing something. And it's unfortunate, and I say it's a bittersweet because it sucks where everything is slowly slipping away, which is why I created the philosophy everything is temporary, because everything really is temporary. And it's also fortunate. It's also a good, beneficial, I guess you could say, to have a progressive disability, because it teaches you things that the ordinary person finds extremely hard to understand, which is the ability to endure, which is the ability to stop what you're doing and adapt to your life situations. Again, back to what I was saying, being able to do something yesterday to again waking up and not being able to do it, you have one of two choices. You have one, you can feel sorry for yourself, which will do absolutely nothing for you. And it's okay to feel sorry for yourself in the beginning, but you cannot stay there. Or two, be positive about it. Not able to do, again, you may weep for a little bit in the beginning stages, but you're going to get through it. And you have to develop the mindset that, hey, no matter what it is I'm going through, everything's going to be okay. I recently had a conversation with myself because my SMA is progressing. where I've been struggling significantly with a few different things, a few different areas within my life, but a lot has been my neck support. And I recently had a self-talk. I had to do some personal reflection, self-reflection of mine, telling myself, hey, like you've gone through stuff in the past. You've been able to experience one thing in the past and the next not being able to do it. And I needed to have that positive self-talk with myself. Like, hey, adapt to your situation. To give an example, brushing my teeth has not been the easiest lately. It's been very challenging. And yes, although I may have the assistance where I can have assistance, like my mom, for example, can help me brush my teeth. But I try not to do that because as it is, living with SMA and living with a progressive disability, you're limited to a certain extent, and your independence can only go so far. So it may appear little to not being able to brush your teeth. Oh, you can have somebody help you. It may appear that simple, but for me, it's much bigger than that. It's losing one extra thing that I'd rather hold on to because it gives me some form of independence. It's the little things. So being positive is again back to what I was saying. It's a bittersweet with my disability. Is you have to adapt. You have to adapt to your situations. How can I adapt? Again, talking about my toothbrush. I have been trying. I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's been a few weeks now. I'm still trying to figure out what can I do to benefit the situation. But I'm trying to figure out how can I adapt to me utilizing this toothbrush that I am most comfortable with. Because I don't want to just use a toothbrush, right, and then it's doing very little to nothing, right? That's not going to benefit. That's not good for your dental hygiene. I'm trying to adapt. So trying to be positive during that process is not the easiest, as you can imagine. So the point of this video is, one, I want you to take away the value that is the most valuable to you within this video. But I hope too that I was able to get across that no matter what it is you are going through, find a way to adapt to your situation. Find a way to stay positive in your situation. No matter how difficult, no matter how challenging, no matter how much your world may be feeling like it's getting dimmer and dimmer with light. Keep the faith. And most importantly, do not let go of that little spark of light that everything could get better, that everything will get better. That's what I'm holding on to. Today may not be the easiest. Tomorrow may have been difficult. Today may be challenging. Tomorrow may test me. But I'm staying optimistic that no matter what happens, I'm going to adapt to the situation. I'm going to do what I must, which is endure, persevere, find the strength to overcome the situation. If eventually down the line I need help with it, I need help with it. It's something I'm going to have to accept, just like how it was something I needed to accept from going from a manual wheelchair to a power wheelchair. There was only so much I could do for a certain amount of time before I metaphorically speaking, reached the finish line, which is I reached the end of the course of me being in a manual wheelchair. And I began a new course being in a powerized wheelchair. The one thing every single one of us has in common is there's always some form of self-doubt in the very beginning when you are attempting to try something new, or you even have an idea of something that you may want to pursue or attempt to try. There's always going to be some form of self-doubt. Can I do it? Can I make it happen? Is it possible? And the thing to help you overcome that self-doubt is reminding yourself of your resilience, but two, allowing yourself the opportunity to say, hey, if I make a mistake, I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to become better because of it. Don't be careless or reckless with your actions and your choice of communication, but do not let self-doubt overpower your intelligence, which is again, hey, if I make a mistake, I'll learn from it. If I make a mistake, I'll recover. If this doesn't work out, it's okay, I'll figure it out. To overcome self-doubt, I think it's much more than just yes or thought process, the things we tell ourselves. To overcome self-doubt, the more action you take, especially in the face of adversity, the more actions you take, inching you forward, you slowly start to develop a confidence where you will figure it out, you will get through it, and everything will be okay. Because you know that the actions you're implementing today will ultimately lead you to a better tomorrow. So it brings you a form of reassurance that, hey, you know what? The world I'm currently living in right now, my circumstance is not the greatest. It may even be the most challenging. It may even be very hard to endure through, let alone develop the patience to persevere through everything you are going through. But if you are able to implement necessary changes, improve what needs improving, and you try to become better, again, don't be careless and reckless with your actions. Be mindful of what you are doing. But the more you put in your efforts and you put work into something, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, even financially, your confidence will overcome that self-doubt. The thoughts that want you to tell you, I don't know if I can do this, or you can't do it, or it's impossible, you should give up. Those thoughts will then turn into something positive. I can do this. It is possible. Everything will be okay. But the bigger picture is, in front of the human eye, it's as simple as switching your mindset. But beyond what the human eye can see, it goes much deeper than that. It's what you had to endure within the process in order for you to break through that self-doubt, creating you the opportunity to build confidence. That's what your journey is about. Your journey is about how can I go from point A to point B. Focus one step at a time. As soon as I became very serious with my entrepreneurial journey, I immediately got rid of my gaming console. Here's why. I entered entrepreneurship in 2017. I got rid of my gaming console around 2019. I think it was like 2019. And the reason why I got rid of my gaming console is because I noticed as I entered entrepreneurship, I had this dream, and this dream is to create a better lifestyle than the one I was currently living. Is to create a better lifestyle for my mother. Is to create a better lifestyle for those around me. Is to create a lifestyle for myself too, where regardless of what happens, if I end up in a vegetable state, I know my needs are going to be taken care of. As I entered entrepreneurship, I had a lot of these desires, a lot of these dreams, aspirations. And I found myself in the very beginning stages as I was learning how to build this business. I got into e-commerce at the time, and e-commerce is essentially what I did before is I built a website. I I learned how to build a website. I learned how to contact suppliers both domestically and internationally, and I even did online marketing, such as running ads on Facebook, Instagram, and I even learned how to do Twitter at the time. It's called Twitter. It's called X now, but it was Twitter at the time. I even knew how to get paid promotions on platforms as that as well. I learned how to do online marketing, and I learned quite a bit within that experience, as you can imagine. But the thing I learned, and the reason why I got rid of my gaming console is because I found myself going from a ordinary lifestyle. I'm a young kid, I just graduated high school, got my diploma, pursued college, and I pursued community college. It didn't work out because, long story short, my disability had put me into the hospital I ended up having pneumonia, collapsed lungs. By me being in the hospital, I got in the hospital around December, which is where we have finals. And because we had finals and I was in the hospital, there was no exceptions that any of my teachers or professors were able to do, where they all essentially said, I'm sorry, but you are going to have to retake the class next semester if the class is available, if there are any open spots. As you can imagine, I was very upset. That process has been a journey within itself. But th- th- back to talking about my gaming console is living an ordinary lifestyle, such as again, young kid, just graduated high school, pursued community college, ended up dropping out. I almost forgot to say that. Ended up dropping out, and I decided to pursue entrepreneurship. So because I'm young and I've been a gamer all my life at that time, I played games with my cousins a lot. I played games with online friends that I met online. And by friends, I'm talking about, friends that you come across online and you add them as a friend, right? And you just see if they're online. And anyhow, I remember several times, many times, me and my cousin especially, a lot of great memories, a lot of great memories. And we were playing the game, and I remember I was like, hey, after this game, I think we were playing zombies. We were playing Call of Duty Zombies, and and I was like, hey, after this game, I gotta cut it off, and I gotta do some work. And they were like, okay, yeah, cool, like no problem. And after our game ended, we were on the game probably like an hour and a half, maybe longer, and um, and and as we were playing the game, that game ended, and we're like, he was like, hey, you want to do another round? Sorry, I can't. And in the very beginning, he would be like, oh, come on, like let's just do one more round or whatever, right? Let's do multiplayer, something a little bit shorter. And at the time, in the very beginning, I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah, it's fine. I could do this tomorrow. I would put my work off to the side. And I began to notice that it didn't happen once, it didn't happen twice, it happened several times. And it wasn't just with my cousin, it happened with any time I was playing the game in general. I would be playing, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Look at the time, and I'm like, okay, Vic, you know what? At 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, cut it off and get to work. And at that time, I already had a lot of stuff built, such as like my website, and I had everything built. I just had to I just had to focus on my ads and things like that. And or even maybe I had to learn something new as well. There was something that my focus should have been more towards rather than gaming. So I noticed that while I was playing the game, I kept telling myself, you know what, give one more hour. You know, I'll do it tomorrow. or you know what, yeah, realistically, I can do it tomorrow. I would have conversations like that, and I began noticing that, and I can't remember if there was something I heard, if there was maybe a life experience that kind of gave me an epiphany or what. And all I remember is I woke up one day and I was like, you know what? This is a distraction. I need to get rid of it. Literally woke up one day to the next and I was like, I'm getting rid of my gaming console. I'm getting rid of my PS4. I never owned a PS5, but I owned a PS4. And I ended up waking up one day to the next, becoming to the understanding that my gaming console was a really big distraction for me. It was throwing me off my focus. It was preventing me from where it is I was trying to go, from where it is I was working to go, and ended up selling it and getting rid of it. And now, because I didn't have the gaming console, what happened? I got rid of one distraction, and I began to focus the time that I was spending on my gaming console. I now began spending it on this dream. And the thing I want you to take away from, actually, you know what? I think actually talking about it out loud, I think it was actually Patrick Bet David, who is the founder of Valuetainment. I think I've seen a video of him talking about eliminating distractions or becoming aware of your distractions and getting rid of it. I forgot what it was. I think it was Valuetainment. I think he actually went into a fan's house who reached out to him, and yeah, it was a Valuetainment. He did a video on it years ago, and a fan had reached out to him saying, basically, I think telling his story a little bit, and then sharing like, "Hey, can you help me? Can you help me either get a job or what?" I forgot what it was. I forgot the full context of it. Anyhow, is the guy was like, "Yeah, I'm willing to do anything." Like, he was like, "I'm willing to do anything," and Patrick Bet David looked at the camera. He recorded everything, and he was like, "Okay, you got that?" And he was like, "Yeah," which is pretty much confirmation that he can do what he was about to do. And he went into the house and he talked with the guy for a little bit, and he was like, "You're willing to do anything?" He was like, "Yeah." He said, "All right." He got his. I think he had he had a PlayStation or Xbox, whatever. He had a gaming console, and he grabbed it, threw it outside, and broke it. And then, long story short, within the video, he ended up shaking his hand and said, "Okay, now I want you to read this book." And he gave him a book. And I can't remember the book of it. Maybe it was Your Next Five Moves. Maybe it was that book. That's a great book as well. And yeah, it was somewhere along the lines, and I think that's what gave me the inspiration to get rid of my gaming console. I think it was that. Anyhow, regardless, there was something that inspired me to say, "Hey, this is a distraction, and get rid of it." So the point is in life, anything you are trying in life when you are trying to better yourself, what is your distraction? What is distracting you and preventing you from you achieving better, to you living a better and healthier lifestyle? What is preventing you? What is that distraction? Now that you know it's a distraction, get rid of it and become focused. For the context of this video, I want to mention that a distraction, I'm talking about things that are more so materialistically. For example, it was a gaming console. Become mindful of your relationships, because some relationships is, although yes, you need to be working towards your craft, and although you need to be focusing a lot more of your attention on this craft, your relationships around you and those that have supported you along your way and those who have helped you along the way are too just as important as your dream. I wanted to highlight that and mention that quickly as well. Victortheinspiration represents you grow through what you go through. That no matter what it is you are going through, no matter the challenges that you face, no matter the obstacle that you have to climb, no matter what it is that you are in the midst in, you can always overcome it. You can always get through it. Victor the Inspiration is a brand that I personally created to not only preach a message, but to lead by example. Hey, this is what I have been through. Yes, I may have a progressive disability. Yes, I may have had dozens of surgeries. Yes, I may have countless hospitalization experiences going in and out of the hospital, both in regular administration and in the ICU. Yes, I may have, because of my progressive disability, it does prevent me from doing a lot of things. But hey, despite everything I have gone through, the good, the bad, and the ugly, this is what I learned. And to summarize everything I have gone through, this one piece of philosophy, grow through what you go through, is what not only keeps me grounded, but helps me move forward. Victor the Inspiration represents grow through what you go through. It is a representation that no matter what it is you are going through, you can overcome it. You can get through it. Better days do lie ahead. We have to find the purpose in everything that we are going through today, helping us grow through it, get through it, overcome it. I believe that there is something within everybody's life that helps us discover something within ourselves. And if you can find a way to grow through what you go through, not only do you discover something you didn't know about yourself, but you create the opportunity for yourself to discover your full potential. Which, as a result, you not only help yourself, but you now have the ability to help someone else in a very similar situation. And to me, that is extraordinary. So from me to you, you matter. Strengthen your resilience in the face of adversity. A quick backstory of me is at the age of 11, I had several back surgeries with my back alone. For those of you who are new to who I am, my name is Victor, who goes by Victor the Inspiration on social media, who has a progressive disability known as SMA. And for those of you who do not know what SMA is a progressive disability that takes away the ability to walk, eat, and breathe over time. Developing resilience in the face of adversity is not the easiest thing. Back to what I was saying to my back surgeries is my back surgeries is one experience of many that has taught me the importance of resilience. For those of you who don't know what resilience is the strength to recover and overcome adversities quickly. The reason why I mentioned my back surgeries is because while you're having these back surgeries, I had a quick backstory with my back surgeries. I had a back surgery where I needed, because I have severe scoliosis, I needed a spinal infusion, which is a surgery that took 14 hours where they put metal rods into your back and to help you sit straight, because I was leaning, crushing my organs, which became a life threat. It became a concern, I should say. Because I had the medical procedure, it didn't go too well. Again, it was a 14-hour surgery. That was an experience within itself. And I learned the importance of adversity within my back surgery. Is one example of many. One life experience of many of mine. I learned the importance of resilience because during that time, you have no other option but to recover quickly from these surgeries. And I'll explain why in a second. Because I had the surgery, it didn't go too well, and it led me down to having a severe infection, which caused me to go in and out of the OR, being hospitalized for 2.5 months, where I was Monday through Friday. I remember vividly as if it was yesterday, and I was in and out of the OR, which caused me having well over dozens, and I mean dozens of back surgeries, hospital experiences just with my back alone. So because of those experiences, you learn the importance of resilience. For the mere fact is, one, you have to develop strength in order to keep your spirit strong to help you continue to fight what it is you were going through. And you have to develop the resilience to recover quickly from it. Having that many surgeries is not the easiest. Needing to develop the resilience to get back on my chair, to get back to my normal living, to get back to moving again, because having so many back surgeries, as you can imagine, you go through immense pain. Any form of movement it's very hard to bear. Even I was 11 years old at the age, that pain was very unbearable. Nothing seemed to help me. No pain medication. There was nothing strong enough that was able to help with my pain, to help it become more bearable. That's how intense and strong my pain was. The only thing that helped me was sleep. And sleeping alone was not the easiest. I learned the importance of resilience, and it is something that you too must practice. Practice to have. Because in life, there's always going to be some form of adversity that you are going to have to quickly recover and overcome. If it's a health diagnosis, you have to strengthen your resilience. If it's something you are going through personally, mentally, physically, spiritually, even financially, whatever it is you are going through, you need to strengthen your resiliency. You need to strengthen your resiliency for the mere fact is that no matter the one thing in life, regardless of your season, if you're going through a good time, know that bad times lie ahead. If you're going through a bad time, know that ugly times lie ahead. And if you're going through an ugly time, know that good times lie ahead. It's a constant circle. It comes in threes. 1, the good; 2, the bad; 3, the ugly. If you're able to develop the resiliency to overcome, to enjoy the good, you're able to develop the resiliency to get through the bad days. You're able to develop the resiliency to overcome your ugly days. That is how you reach your good days, your better days. You endured through it. You recovered from it. You overcame it. But your good days can only happen when you overcome it. You don't quit. You endure it. You persevere it. So the next time you are going through something hard, challenging, difficult, even if you're going through that right now, know that 1, this video is no accident. You are meant to see this video. And 2, take this as your sign that what it is you are going through is temporary. But you need to strengthen your resilience. I cannot tell you why you were going through what you were going through. I don't know why you have gone through everything you have gone through. But I can tell you from personal experience that life does get better. May not feel like it. It may even feel like maybe for some people, but not for you. And trust me, I've been there. For somebody who has that many surgeries, as you can imagine, I definitely did not think I would get better. From someone who was on a psychiatric hold, not once, not twice, but 3 times. He overcame it. That person I'm talking about is me. I did not think better days lie ahead. I did not think my situation would change. And it did. My bad days did get ugly. They did get worse. But I can tell you, because I kept the faith and I continued to put one foot in front of the other, and I chose to endure through everything that I had to go through, I was able to see good days. I was able to see brighter days, better days. And you can too. The one thing a lot of us have in common is overcoming failure. If failure to me is not just attempting to try something and it doesn't work out and you quit. No. Failure to me is attempting to try something and although you implement what you thought you knew and it doesn't work out, that's not a failure. If it doesn't work out as you thought. Failure to me is when you attempt to try something and you quit. When you are able to go through life and you're able to attempt something, you're able to try something new, you try to improve on something. And although it may not work out, you find out on how to improve it, how to make it work. What can I do? How can I learn from my mistake? What is it that I did that I didn't see before? What is it that I did that was wrong? How can I improve these mistakes? And as you attempt to try and try and try, you are going to experience more and more failures along the way. But those who become great at anything has failed at something numerous times, more times than they can count. But they never let failure define them. They somehow found a way to endure and persevere through all of those trials and tribulations. Failure after failure, attempt after attempt, results after no results. Whether you attempt something mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, even financially, whatever it is you do, anything that you attempt to try, you only fail if you quit. So to overcome failure, I want you to understand that you are not a failure. If you're feeling like a failure, I personally understand from personal experience. Me being halfway to 30. When I say 25, it doesn't sound as bad, but when I say halfway to 30, to me it just has a different meaning. Me being halfway to 30 and I feel like a failure because I have my personal brand, Victortheinspiration. I have a website, social media, several YouTube channels, and none of them seems to be monetized yet to the extent that I had hoped that I would already be living a current lifestyle now. And I'm feeling like a failure. I'm halfway to 30. My disability is progressing. It's not doing the greatest. I don't share too much about that. Those around me getting older. It's not the easiest. Because then you have to start, in my situation, you have to start to, in my situation, it's a little bit different and more difficult. So lately I've been feeling like a failure a little bit because again, I'm halfway to 30, nothing seems to be working. Even this thing that I've been working on for 4 years now, I thought would be far off the ground. And it's not. And I shared briefly talking about this experience, talking about personal thoughts of mine about failure on my blog post. I will link that video within the description. Or you can even find it on my website, victortheinspiration.com, and look up the blog post, 2024 blog post, Becoming the Victor, titled Look Up. in quotations, and read that blog post. And I talk about how a lot of stuff is just not the easiest lately. Been going through a depressive state a little bit. Overcoming it, getting through it. Definitely by the time this video uploads. Losing my grandmother was not the easiest. She was more like a second mother to me. Building a website, trying to get my name off the ground, trying to my SMA progressing as well, and doing a lot of things that I seem to not get off the ground. Just it's very it's not the easiest to endure through. Again, especially in my condition, not because I'm in a wheelchair. No, that's not what I'm implying. It's simply because I have SMA. That's a progressive disability, and the way I've been feeling, I didn't expect to feel for roughly within the next 3 to 5 years. I have a certain visualization of how I would have been by the age of 30, and it's definitely, I'm definitely feeling like that a lot faster. So the purpose of this video is talking about failure in fronts of the human eye. Just because you were not getting the results you had originally thought you would by this time, or just because you had studied countless hours, maybe watched dozens of courses, spent numerous hours on courses, numerous hours on expanding your knowledge, whether it's through YouTube videos, courses, books even. You spend so many hours, a very large portion of your life, I don't like to use the word sacrifices, I like to use the words personal investments, where you don't go to that family hangout, or you don't go outdoors and socialize much. You rather stay indoors and build this craft that you're working on. When you're building something, or you're trying to achieve something new, different, oftentimes when you're within that process and you're trying to create something where there once was nothing, more so in my case, you're trying to, metaphorically speaking, one of my philosophies is, in a world full of stairs, create your own trails. Meaning what I am attempting to do has been done before to some extent, but where it is I'm trying to go has not been done before. So it's much harder to try to make happen, because it will appear impossible to anyone if you talked about it, but it can even feel quite impossible to you too, because there's no evidence that it could be possible in your circumstance. Where it is I'm trying to go is significantly possible. It's happened, it's been done before to an extent, but it's never been possible, or let alone done before, in a position for someone such as mine. And having that thought, again, is not the easiest. You can feel like a failure. Is this really going to work? When you begin YouTube, for example, it's going to take several years to get off the ground, unless you're that one lucky person, which is extremely, extremely rare. But usually when you're building something, again, for the sake of this conversation, talking about YouTube, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of endurance, a lot of patience, both of which is not quite on my side. Endurance takes a lot of effort. Do I have the endurance to continue to endure everything I'm going through? I'm already enduring a lot. Do I have the time to not only continue to build this craft, but will I even have the time to even enjoy it? During the process, the point of this is during the process, you have to find a way to endure what you must. You must find a way to overcome that thought that you're a failure. To overcome that thought that what you are working on is a complete failure. If you've been working on it for several months, if you've been working on it for several years, if there is proof of concept that what it is you are doing, what it is you're working towards works, like it does work. There are people out there that have done what it is you are trying to do. There's proof of concept. So that means the difference between you and that individual who appears to be successful or appears to be living the lifestyle you are working towards or getting inspiration from. I want you to not look so much at the success or the glamorous lifestyle that is right there in front of you. But I want you to stop and think about everything they have gone through, endured through, persevered through to get them to that moment. That lifestyle was not deserved. It was earned. That mindset within itself can teach you a lot. I don't deserve that lifestyle, but I will earn it. And that is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. I love you. I appreciate you. And remember, grow through what you go through. Much love.